Johnny, thank you very much, and it is good to be here with everybody. And it's been a really, Johnny's right, it's been pretty Texas Motor Speedway-ish. It's been a very busy recess, and let me explain the word recess to you. It does not mean that I've been out playing. There hasn't been much fun and recreation associated with this recess. As a matter of fact, the new politically correct term for congressional recess is district work period. And so this month of August has been a district work period. As many of you know, Congress broke right at the beginning of the month. For the first week, I was in Israel. I was in Israel for eight days. And I was part of the largest delegation to ever go to Israel. It was really, it was an amazing experience. Was there during Shabbat Shalom, and it was really life-changing for me. It was absolutely amazing. And got a better situation of foreign policy as it relates to the Middle East. We went to an area called Kissinger's Overlook, which is, if I'm not mistaken, if I may be a little mixed up with my geography, but if I'm not mistaken, it's close to the Golan Heights, and we could see the Syrian flag waving. You could just look right over and see Syria. Look right over and see Lebanon. It was amazing. I was very fortunate that we were that our group, because a lot of the security concerns, particularly in Palestine, have been eased, and so we were actually able to go into Bethlehem, and we were also able to go into Ramallah, and so it was really a great trip. Also, when we got back, as Johnny mentioned a little bit earlier, here in the district, I've already done 3 town halls. And so one of those town halls was actually the Congressional Black Caucus. They did a town hall on the Affordable Health Care Act, and me and Eddie Bernice Johnson were the special co-hosts of that particular event, and it went really well. And then I had 2 of my own last week, one in Dallas, one in Fort Worth. I represent North Oak Cliff. Those of you who may have sold some property over in beautiful Kessler Park, Stevens Park, Winnetka Heights, and so I represent the northern part of Oak Cliff there along I-30, and so we had it at Methodist Hospital there, and had a really good crowd. And so, but everybody in here knows me, local guy. I went to right down the street at Arlington Heights High School, families from Fort Worth, and so I know everybody here. And so, me getting to know people in Dallas is important too. So we've been spending a lot of time both in Tarrant and in Dallas County. I've done a Congress on Your Corner. And how many Congress on Your Corners have I done?
Probably 6.
Yeah. I've done 6 Congress on Your Corners. And Congress on Your Corner is basically a congressman or congresswoman goes to like a local grocery store or some other public place in their district, and you just set up a table and just meet people coming in and out. And so we've done pretty much all of them at grocery stores. They've gone really well, and so we're staying busy, trying to stay visible, trying to stay out there. What we've done, Ann keeps the schedule 500 events, different events and tours and visits, and at least 500 different events, tours and visits since I've been sworn in January. So and so we've been very, very busy. But like I always say, it is great to be in Congress. But it's better to be married, and I am making sure that I'm spending time with my wife and the 7-year-old. As a matter of fact, I went to school with a 7-year-old this morning, and my wife and I, first day of school, he was very excited, and so obviously that's the most important thing, and so I'm making sure that I'm doing my parental duties. Because every now and then, even though, again, it's nice to be in Congress and get to go to the White House and do all of those things, but every now and then my wife actually needs a break. And so I'll stay home while she can go out and do whatever, she needs to do. And then, so me and my son can catch up while I'm in D.C. during the week. So, again, all those things are very important. And again, a lot of very important things going on in D.C. right now. I'm sure that you have been watching the news. I'm sure that you're probably frustrated with a lot of the simple things that Congress seems to not be able to get done that they used to be able to get done. Like, for instance, the whole deal about the Farm Bill. That used to be pretty routine. Farm bill would pass. And of course, this time around, SNAP became controversial. I'm not sure why SNAP became controversial. It's used in every community in Tarrant County. And people would be surprised, like, who's on SNAP. And SNAP is basically the new term for food stamps. And so the SNAP portion of the farm bill became very controversial this time. And the bill failed the first time they had it on the floor. And so they brought the bill back without the SNAP in it, and it passed. And that's unfortunate because there are going to be a lot of families, a lot of working families out there. And, you know, what I always remind people is sometimes those programs have been sort of wrongfully maligned as being, you know, handouts and people not working hard enough. But you have to remember, let's say you work at Walmart, you work 40 hours a week, you have 1 or 2 kids. And if you work hard every day, full-time job at Walmart, you're still only going to make $15,000 a year. So you're still going to need some assistance to help pay for your kids' food, diapers, clothing, electricity, you know, just the basic staples of life. And so that SNAP program is there for working families, and working families use it everywhere. They use it in my district, over in Stop 6 in West Dallas. They use it out in Weatherford, Texas. So they use SNAP everywhere. So we need to make sure that we do everything that we can, I think, to put that back in there, but it's going to be tough. You know, we have a looming crisis going on with the debt ceiling right now. Very concerned about that. Again, that's in the past. Debt ceiling has been very routine, but it's become, you know, very tough to even deal with the debt ceiling as it comes up. And so, you know, again, you know, concerned about that. Sequester. We should all be concerned about the sequester. And I think the last time I've talked to the board, we talked a little bit about the sequester. And the reason why we should particularly be concerned about the sequester here in Tarrant County and in Fort Worth is just because of the sheer number of people that work in defense-related jobs here, whether they work directly for the government at DOD, or whether they're a DOD contractor, whether they work out at Naval Air Station Fort Worth, whether they work out at Lockheed Martin, whether they work out at Bell Helicopter, Raytheon, Siemens, DynCorp, you know, any of those different places that employ literally thousands of people here. And we've already saw that the Bell Helicopter, you probably saw a few months ago, they announced that they were laying off 120 at the Fort Worth facility because of the sequester and anticipation of there being less orders for tilt rotors. And so, you know, that's 120 people that could have possibly bought a house from each and every one of you in here. That's 120 people that are going to have a hard time making their mortgage, and they're not going to spend money in the economy. Again, you know, we should all really be concerned about the sequester and the impact that it'll have on Fort Worth, because as we continue to deal with this problem of coming up with a long-term solution, and I'm hoping that eventually something will give. I was really encouraged that the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee, Republican, don't remember what state he's from, I want to say maybe he's from Georgia. He came out publicly and said that the sequester was the wrong thing to do, and that we need to, you know, go ahead and get past it so we can, you know, continue to make the decisions that we need to make, but get past the sequester. So, and right now, the way that we're doing things on CRs, it's really not good. It's hard for these companies that do business with the government to really set their budgets, like Bell Helicopters and things like that, again, here locally, because it's hard for them to live on that sort of month-to-month budget. And for the long-term stability of our economy, it's really bad also. And so my hope is that we do something about the sequester soon. I know that one of the things, and many of you that have followed politics a long time, you remember the government shutdown crisis back in the 1990s when Bill Clinton was president, and that possible crisis is looming again. And you know, hopefully we can find a solution to that also. Nothing like the Farm Bill, nothing in DC anymore is easy. You know, why that is, I don't know. My guess is that a lot of it has to do with redistricting. and this is something that I talked with the board a little bit about earlier, the last time I was here, is that the redistricting has really become so favored for one party or really for people in both parties that have to get reelected in their primaries, kind of like the district that I'm running in. And so people really don't feel like they have to be held accountable in November anymore. People feel like their only accountability is in the primary. And my district, primary district, Kay Granger's district, primary district, Joe Barton's district, primary district, Kenny Marchant, primary. And so people don't really feel they have to be held accountable in November anymore. And I think that that is really, has changed a lot in DC, and not just in DC, in Austin also. Because when you have people that feel like, you know, they only need to answer to the left or to the right, or they only need to think about what they hear on Fox, or they only need to think about what they hear on MSNBC, you know, that changes the dynamic of the political body. And you know, we're always going to have seats that are Democratic, and we're always going to have seats that are Republican. But now it's just, we're at a point in history in our country, and a lot of it has to do with technology. With these maps now, they can really draw these districts as precisely as they want to. Before, they used to look at rivers and railroad tracks and different things like that in order to draw these districts and try to make them either Democratic or Republican. Now with mapping software, you know, you can look at an area, look at demographics, income, all sorts of things like that, and you can draw these districts as partisan as you want to. And it's happening in state legislatures and in Congress. And so some of the dysfunction is really built into the process. And so I hope that we can also move past that. Affordable Health Care Act. I know that obviously people have different opinions on Affordable Health Care Act. My hope is that on October the 1st that people get signed up, that people that don't have insurance go and get signed up. I think that's going to be important. I think that that once people understand more about the Affordable Health Care Act, particularly small businesses, with the tax breaks that are available and with some of the other things that are there to help smaller businesses, I hope that that people will understand that. The same way how when Medicare came out and people didn't quite understand that, a lot of doctors were very concerned about Medicare, and now people realize that it's a good thing. But it has its challenges, just like this will have its challenges. But I'm doing everything I can to just get people to go and sign up October the 1st. As taxpayers, I think that we'll be relieved that people, first of all, have insurance and they don't have to go to the emergency room for all of their services. That costs us as taxpayers. For people that don't go and get regular doctor's visits, that do rely on the emergency room for all of their medical treatment, it's highly unlikely that they're going to get screened on a regular basis for things like diabetes, for heart disease, for other things that could be avoided if they would just go to the doctor and pay a copay and get tested like all of us are supposed to do once or twice a year. And this will allow that particular group that really, because they only make, I talked about if you work full-time and you only make minimum wage, you're going to make $15,000 a year. The people like that, it helps capture folks like that. And maybe they'll go to the doctor's office, get those regular visits, because I can tell you that a lot of the problems that we have in Washington, D.C., everything based on our budget, you'll hear a lot about defense spending, you'll hear a lot about SNAP and other, entitlements, Social Security, Medicare. The biggest driver of our deficit in Washington, D.C. is costs related to health care, the number one. So having people get signed up for insurance in the long run, it could really help us as taxpayers because I can tell you that right now, we're on the hook for quite a bit as it relates to health care. I know that as realtors, one of the big things that everybody is concerned about is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and just a lot of the talk coming out of Washington, D.C. Again, I think it just sort of shows how divided we've become as a nation because of what's going on. I mean, it used to be that everybody whether you were Democrat or Republican, you really pushed home ownership. Like home ownership was really a staple of both parties. And now a lot of the talk centers around some of the government programs like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And without Fannie and Freddie, it would make it really tough for a lot of the customers that you deal with on a daily basis. Obviously, some people would still be able to get financing, but for some people, by not having the government backstop, it would make it really tough for a lot of your everyday people to get financing, and for people to build certain homes and what have you. And so I hope that some of the propositions like eliminating Fannie, some of the down payment requirements that you see coming out of some of the legislation in Congress, I hope that some of those things don't make it. You hate to see anything like that even come to the House floor, just because it creates so much of the tension, whether or not it's going to pass or not. And I can tell you that it would not pass, or President Obama wouldn't sign anything that would eliminate Fannie or Freddie. But just having something like that on the House floor is so divisive. It's kind of sort of like the farm bill with the SNAP. When the SNAP was taken off, just the tension on the floor, the clapping, and and just some of the rhetoric and the things that people were saying. Just when you do that, it makes it so much harder to build that bipartisan compromise that we really need in our country now. Probably more than ever. Now, with that said, I think it's healthy for people to disagree. Both parties have always disagreed since the founding of our Constitution, and both parties are always going to have disagreements. But again, some of the basic things that we used to be able to do, I hope that we can get together and start doing that again. I've known Kay a long time. I have a great working relationship with her. I've reached out to Joe Barton on the Dallas side, Pete Sessions, and I just participated. I think Robert was there. I know Mark was there. I participated in a bipartisan deal with both Jed Penserling and Pete Sessions at the Dallas Chamber of Commerce. For those of you that are concerned about defense spending here in the area, since it is such a big part, the Texans on the committee, me, Joaquin Castro out of San Antonio, Pete Gallego, the three Democrats on armed services, we sat down, had a bipartisan small breakfast with Mac Thornberry, who also serves on Armed Services Committee, and Mike Conaway out of Midland. We sat down and we talked about, hey, if there's base realignment that goes on again, let's get together as Texans, not worry about us being Democrats and Republicans, but let's get together as Texans and talk about, base realignment, and let's try to save the bases in Texas first. I think that everybody here remembers what a stressful time that was when we lost Carswell and it ultimately became, Naval Air Station. But during that time period, many of those families that had located here, decided they were going to retire here so they could have access to that base hospital for the rest of their lives. I mean, that sort of thing really changed people's lives. And so, we want to make sure that we look out for each other as Texans first. And so I hope we can continue to do more things like that. And I don't know if Robert wanted me to talk about anything else. Of course, immigration. I don't think that it's looking really, I want to remain hopeful, but it's looking really tough right now on immigration reform. John Boehner has said that he is not going to allow any bill onto the House floor that does not have a majority of Republicans supporting it. And so we're not going to pass a immigration reform bill with a majority of Republicans, not a full sweeping immigration reform bill. And so the word going around Washington right now is that we're going to see piecemeal immigration reform. And so you'll see, maybe green cards, border security. You'll see a few pieces that Republicans feel like they can vote for, and some of the other things that are more controversial, pathway to citizenship, they're just not going to deal with it. So that is where we are on immigration reform. But we really do need immigration reform. When you look locally at how much immigrants bring to the local economy, when you look at how many, when you look at what immigrants bring to home ownership, and the purchases that they make for homes, we need immigration reform. So it's really my hope that we can get a bill passed, but it's really looking bleak right now.